Here's the coach with the decision.
Quite honestly, we're not where we want to be as an offense. So I looked at the whole thing and decided that for this week, to look for that spark again, to try to get the team over the hump, to try to get everybody playing better. And obviously the quarterback position is included there. So that's really the decision that I came to, moving forward this week.
Okay, so obviously a lot to unpack here. Quickly, Graziano, take us through how this decision came about. What have we heard out of Philly the last few days?
Yeah, based on what I heard yesterday, Doug Peterson is trying to find a way to spark his team, see if he can get them playing better, and nothing with Wentz has worked. I mean, they've given him all the rope they could possibly have given him, all the help they could possibly have given him, and nothing has clicked. So they're at the point now where they feel like they have to try this to spark. They're a game and a half out behind the Giants and Washington, so they haven't given up on the season yet. And they don't know exactly what the offseason holds in terms of decisions about Carson Wentz and their quarterback position moving forward. But with 4 games to go, they feel like they have to do something to try and light a spark under the team. And this is what they're going with this week against the Saints.
So the decision has been made. Ryan Clark, was it the right decision?
It was absolutely the right decision. I mean, the only thing scares me is when I think about Jalen Hurts playing against the New Orleans Saints, I keep envisioning James Brown singing "I Live in America" and Apollo Creed dancing around the ring right before he's about to play Ivan Drago. And it's like, we're all excited. Rock is walking out, Rock is smiling, and then you realize, oh, hell, he really got killed. And, that's what makes me nervous about this start. But other than that, this is the right decision to make. When you look at where the Philadelphia Eagles were as an offense, as a team, they were descending. They were declining. Carson Wentz was playing worse and worse every week. And you could see it taking a toll on this team. And so now you insert Jalen Hurts against the Green Bay Packers. You get the offense going. He's moving inside and out of the pocket. There's some accurate throws downfield. The special teams makes a play. The defense makes a play. And you actually have an opportunity before Jalen Hurts is hitting the pocket late in that game to tie the score. And so I think that's what you're looking for if you're Doug Peterson and if you're the Philadelphia Eagles. So this was the call that he had to make. He made the right call in the Green Bay game, and he said something very smart. This week, I chose to go with Jalen Hurts, and I think this is week by week now, but it's the right decision for this week.
Can I just confirm the Rocky IV reference? You're saying that it was the right decision for Apollo to fight Drago even though he got killed in the ring?
Absolutely not. I'm just saying that's how I feel about him walking into the stadium to play against the New Orleans Saints. Like, we're all excited.
Sure.
That's the things up with all these details. We're coming down the thing.
I just need to make sure.
Yeah, Greeny.
It's so rare that I understand the references on Wednesdays that I want to make sure that I have this one right. Okay, Nick, did they make the right decision in Philly?
I think they absolutely made the right decision because, like Dan said early on, they've tried everything else. Right now, I don't think the decision they made is we're going to Jalen Hurts as much as the decision was we're going to give Carson Wentz a week to rest, a week to physically, mentally, emotionally take a break, and maybe he will come back refreshed and be better because I don't think the answer long-term here is going to be Jalen Hurts. But I do want to commend Doug Peterson on something because the last 3 weeks, I think it is, we had clips from Doug Peterson doing these ridiculous Pootie Tang press conferences where he says a bunch of noises but doesn't make any sense. And so I'm so proud that he came out here and just kept it real. He looked at us, we looked at him, we all saw Carson Wentz, and he said, Sarate, we got to move on, give it to Jalen Hurts. It made sense, finally. Got that
more traditional. A more traditional reference. I don't understand it. Okay, Desmond, let me come to you here because you obviously cover the college game for us. So you've seen Jalen Hurts. You've seen a lot more Jalen Hurts probably than all the rest of us. What is your expectation for him if he gets the last quarter of this season?
The one thing that we understand and we know about Jalen Hurts is that he is a competitor. I mean, he's a team guy. He showed that when he was at Alabama and he got and Tua took his seat. And then when Tua was struggling against Georgia, he came in there and won the game for Alabama. So we know that he's a mobile quarterback, very strong, built like a running back, works out like a linebacker, but he can make some throws, he can take some hits, and he's smart. So the competitive nature in Jalen Hurts is going to, I think, help him succeed. Now, they were talking about the boxing references and talking about Carson Wentz. I have a boxing reference for Dominique and RC too. See, Carson Wentz is Bootney Farnsworth. And the NFL, they're like for the street black. And what Carson Wentz lacked was confidence. So what Carson Wentz needs, he needs a Sidney Poitier to come in there and hypnotize him to get him back to where he used to be, so then he can go out there and compete. Because right now, for the street black is beating the hell out of Carson Wentz, who is Bootney Farnsworth.
Okay. That's exactly what I expected. All right, we will take a short thought on. We'll get back to the NFL, and we'll find out whether we think we've seen the last of Carson Wentz in Philadelphia as we continue. But let's now turn naturally to Michigan and Ohio State. The annual rivalry game has been canceled due to an increase in COVID cases within the Michigan program. Due to Big Ten rules, if the Buckeyes do not play a game this week, they would be ineligible to play in the conference title game. Here was their coach, Ryan Day, yesterday.
You know, we have to take a hard look periodically at all this stuff. And I think that this is one of those situations. And if we don't quite get the games we need to get into the championship game, then I think that needs to be looked at hard, just like anybody else in the conference.
I don't believe that anybody, Ohio State or any other team, should just be punished because of decisions we made by looking at 8 games and saying we should play 6 and not knowing the effects of what happens to them and their team versus what others, because of what happens to our team, affects them.
All right, Heather and Paul got up with us early here along with Desmond. And Heather, here it finally is. We've been talking about this possibility, it feels to me like, for quite a while, and now it is in front of us. Ohio State doesn't have a 6th game on its schedule right now. That can only change today, right? Wednesday is the deadline that they would add another game. So tell me what we should expect to happen today for Ohio State.
Greeny, as we sit here, the athletic directors in the Big Ten are supposed to be meeting right now virtually and discussing whether or not they should lower that benchmark to 5 games. I think that the chances of that increased yesterday because it seems a lot more difficult for Ohio State to find an opponent in the Big Ten to replace Michigan. And I say that because within hours of Michigan canceling, Purdue announced that it was canceling its practice on Tuesday. And just when it looked like Indiana might be freed up to play the Buckeyes, Indiana canceled its practice on Tuesday. So the Big Ten can certainly get creative in its scheduling. Maybe they say, hey, why doesn't Maryland play Ohio State? And they can make up that game that was canceled. But then what do you do with Rutgers? So I think it's on the ADs right now to talk it out, see what the best option is, and they could certainly decide to change that rule.
Paul, what should they do?
I think they should find Ohio State a game. That way they don't take all the heat about changing the rules, even though that's not really a big deal, as we've said here a couple of times. It just makes more sense. Give Ohio State a legitimate route into the Big Ten championship game. It really is fairly simple. So you're worried about hurting feelings. The Big Ten has hurt feelings from the beginning. When they shut down, they made everybody mad. When they came back, they made some people mad. That should not be the issue any longer. You have to be flexible. And I don't know why it has taken until Wednesday to get this figured out. I know Heather said, and she's correct, that the Big Ten athletic directors have to meet today. But, I mean, Greeny, I think we started talking about this 10 days ago. How come we're ahead of the Big Ten on what they should be doing?
Yeah, I mean, look, this has been a problem all the way through. Now, again, they're up against it. Desmond Howard, how do you think this should play out?
I think that they should try to find Ohio State a game, and I think that they will find Ohio State a game. When you look at the comments coming out of the Big Ten from different athletic directors, you can tell that everyone's trying to finagle a way to figure out how can they get Ohio State into the Big Ten championship game, because they want to get them into the college football playoff, because that's the Big Ten's best team. Even Barry Alvarez, Wisconsin's athletic director, he came out publicly and made that same exact statement last week. So it's not like they haven't thought about this last week or before this. They understood what was ahead of them. They knew what was coming. They've seen how many teams have had to cancel practices and games because of COVID. So they knew what was looming around the horizon for the Buckeyes. I believe that they're prepared for this and that they will make a statement at some time today.
Heather, you know what the whole world went crazy talking about yesterday. Ohio State doesn't have a game this weekend. They're 4 in the country. Texas A&M doesn't have a game this weekend. They're 5 in the country. There's literally no chance of that, right?
Okay, so as we sit here in a pandemic and it seems as if anything is possible, I'm not going to completely eliminate it, but it's a rule in the Big Ten that you cannot play non-conference games to fill out these schedules. I would be shocked if they did that and changed that at this point. I want to say there's literally no chance, but again, look, we saw BYU travel 2,000 miles to play Coastal Carolina, but look, it's a rule. They can't play non-conference games.
Paul, should it happen? I got 30 seconds. Paul, should it happen?
I would love to see it happen. There's not that many great college football games this weekend, Greeny. I mean, other than the Army-Navy game, all the contenders are pretty much gone. So it would be fantastic. But Heather is 100% correct. The odds of it are infinitesimal, maybe below that.
Yeah, again, it's the game everyone would love to see. It would be the play-in game. You know, it would be like the first game of the playoff. We could settle it now. It's not going to happen, but it sure is fun to think about. Guys, we'll come back and do a little more on this a little later in the program, but I'll take a break. Coming up, the Steelers have lost their chance.